Alright guys, we are officially 3 hours Matt and Jake in the future.
It was brutal.
It was brutal.
I mean, no, it was great. It was intense.
Fantastic.
I'm exhausted.
I'm processing everything still.
Yeah, it was hard. It was so good.
Trying to think of one thing I could say without spoilers.
It was so good.
Very
It was
final.
It was different.
This is the
Endgame.
War. Very different.
Yeah. But oh, the spine-chilling teen goosebumps. I got goosebumps. There's really not much we can say about it.
We're gonna have to let this process for a couple more days.
So when do you want to go see it again? Tomorrow? Great. Hey guys, welcome to Cinema Brawls. I am Jake.
I am Matt.
And I'm Daniel.
And today we're going to be doing a very spoiler-filled review of Avengers Endgame, which we just saw. First half, like we usually do, not so spoilery. Second half, very spoilery.
And as I'm sure you've noticed, this is not, in fact, Daniel. Daniel is not as pretty as this. This is my wife, Megan, who went and saw Endgame with us. Daniel is out of town, and he recorded some of his impressions, which we will play later, but Megan is sitting in his place for now. So what'd you guys think?
Well, honestly, I think after Infinity War, it was going to be hard to really make a comeback after that amazing movie. But it lived up to the hype. I thought it was great.
There was
Very much
a lot of
hype.
hype. Very much hype.
So many hypes.
I mean, you know when you build something up in your head for who knows how long you think it's going to be?
A year?
Yeah, for a year. Every day for a year, nothing but constant videos. Curse you, new rock stars. It definitely did not disappoint, especially with all that build-up.
Oh yeah. I remember sitting there when we saw Endgame, and it started, and I was staring at the screen thinking, oh my gosh, we're actually watching it. This is real. But we've only seen it once, and it was a couple days ago, and so it still feels not real. But, I mean, we have had a couple days to think about it. We watched it on Thursday. We're now filming this on Saturday. Like, there were some parts where I was honestly surprised that it happened. We'll get into specifics later, the spoiler territory. And there were some things I didn't quite like right out of the gates. But after a couple days of thinking it over, watching other people's reviews, I've been pulling other things out of those. And, overall, still a really great movie.
It was
solid.
You can't go in expecting it to be like a direct sequel to Infinity War. It's definitely its own monster.
Right. Monster is right. 3 hours and 2 minutes.
Yeah. But it was different, which was a good thing. Avengers Infinity War was, a lot of action, a lot of intense scenes. And this one was too, but this one was more of the emotional impact.
Very emotional.
Very emotional.
I mentioned in the little recording that you saw of us right after we got out of the theater, and I mentioned that it was very final. And I think that's what sets it apart from the other Marvel movies, is they took everything that had come up before it. They had references, they had characters, and they used Endgame to just wrap it all up. We don't even really have a solid idea of what's coming next, besides Spider-Man Far From Home, of course.
Yeah. What would you give it out of 10?
That's tough.
8 out of 10.
Solid 8.
Solid 8, because some parts seemed very un-Marvel-like to me. Mm-hmm. So that kind of threw me for a loop for a second, and I was like, oh, okay. But they still did it really well.
Oh, yeah.
With Marvel, though, you expect something different, but...
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Some things just kind of caught me off guard, and I don't know if I totally liked it while watching it, but I think when we go see it again in a couple days, after it sets in a little more, it'll be better.
Yeah.
It'll grow on me.
There were some things I was like, what? But yeah, I mean, overall, I was in the crowd. I was cheering.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I turned around after the first, 2 minutes and I'm pretty sure I saw Matt crying already.
So, oh my gosh. How could you not? Alright, out of 10, I was going to say probably about a 9. It was real good.
Yeah, I'd give it a 9. Infinity War was definitely a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Well, so yeah, now that brings up, where should we put it in our list? So let's put that up on the screen. This is tough because even though Endgame was super good, super good, I still think Infinity War was the best one because a year later and several rewatches later, and I still get super pumped out of some parts. And Iron Man, of course, is classic because it stands on its own, started the thing. And Civil War was so emotional, but had amazing action scenes as well. So I think I would put Endgame right there between Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, and Civil War.
I would put it above Civil War. I'd rather watch Endgame than Civil War.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they're both pretty comparable movies. I mean, you got a lot of Avengers, a lot of fighting, and a lot of emotion.
Oh, yeah. They definitely delivered on the emotion, that's for sure.
But I think because Avengers Endgame had, more of a culmination of events and kind of had more of a finality to it, that it trumps Civil War.
I would have to agree because Infinity War just unspeakably amazing. Iron Man, that was the start of it all, right?
Yeah,
that was the first one.
And it's still such a good movie to watch.
Every time I watch it, sometimes I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I want to watch the first Iron Man movie and Incredible Hulk, but that's for another time.
It's a good thing you weren't in our ranking before.
Yeah, how the freak did you guys put Incredible Hulk at 18?
I was a fan.
That's just wrong, because that is one of the best Marvel movies ever.
And this is why Megan doesn't usually get an opinion.
Yeah, that's good. You know what? Anyways, but yes, I think above Civil War, because Civil War was good, but, I feel like Endgame was kind of a culmination of everyone.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, there you have it. Despite Matt's best efforts, we have got ourselves a number 3 spot, and everything else will move down 1. Iron Man and Infinity War will stay at the top.
Please let us know where you would put it in our list or in your personal list as well in the comments. Well, everybody, we are moving into spoiler territory. If you have not seen the movie yet, I don't know why you clicked on the video in the first place. But if you haven't seen it yet, stop now. Go watch it and come back.
All right, now that I've had some time to process it and sleep on the Avengers Endgame, I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I still really like it. I think that it's a great movie, and it was great for what it was, which was just a celebration of Marvel. It was a celebration of the stuff that they've been able to do. The other movies, bringing everyone together, just like what the first Avengers was, which was a celebration of, at the time, 5 or 6 movies that they were able to bring together to one cohesive whole. Same with now the 22-ish movies that they've been able to do, including this and Captain Marvel, and I really liked all of it. It was good. It was fun. It wasn't necessarily the greatest movie of all time. Again, no Princess Bride, but it was a fun, good movie. It was long, but it didn't feel long. It was very fast-paced. A lot of stuff happened, and I feel like they could have split it up into even 2 other movies, but they didn't, and I appreciate that. They were able to tighten everything down and keep it into one movie that was a fast pace. I liked how there was kind of the time heist kind of aspect, like the first act 2 of the movie was this time heist, and them all trying to get the Infinity Stones from different points in time and making it work. And I thought that was super interesting, and interesting how even though they got rid of Thanos at the beginning, spoilers, they were able to still find a way that they could just totally fight him in his prime again. And I liked that aspect of it. Very comic booky, very convoluted, very ridiculous, but it was fun. It was a celebration of Marvel movies. What else did you want, pretty much? A couple of gripes that I had, and again, getting into spoiler territory here, I didn't totally love the mixture of the Hulk and Bruce Banner. I thought that he was too in the middle, which was a weird character. He wasn't totally nerdy and like reserved like Bruce Banner, but he wasn't like the Hulk, you know? Not my favorite. I can see why they did it. I can see a lot of people liking it. It just wasn't totally my favorite. Same with Fat Thor, you know? I did like the parts where, you know, Thor gotta talk to his mom, though, and the interesting relationships that were able to form because of this movie. I didn't cry at the end. I know a lot of people say that they did, and it wasn't that I didn't feel emotion for the end necessarily, I just didn't cry. In terms of ranking, I would probably rank it... See, this is my personal ranking, so I think that it's probably my favorite Avengers movie. So, Avengers Age of Ultron, Infinity War, and Endgame, it's my favorite of the 4 Avengers movies. So, Endgame, Avengers 1, Infinity War, Age of Ultron, at least for me personally. See, that's the problem with ranking them, is that it's a completely different animal to any of the other movies, any of the other normal Marvel movies. Like, how do I compare this Avengers movie to Captain Marvel? On one hand, I liked Captain Marvel more because it was a contained story. On the other hand, I like Endgame more because I got to see everyone and the big fight scenes at the end and stuff like that. Like, it was a lot of fun, and it was a good movie. I don't totally know where I'd place it in the overall ranking. I'd place it pretty high, though. Probably like top 7, top 6, around there. I'd have to take a look at our definitive list again to make sure. But yeah, around there. I don't know how much I want to like gush about it. It was a fun romp. It was interesting. It was super fun to see those characters and the different dynamics, and to see things like Captain America fighting himself, and like when he was getting the briefcase and did the Hail Hydra thing and like freaked people out a little bit. That was kind of funny. I liked that. I liked him fighting his older self and like kind of using the buttons that he's learned about himself. I did really like that he went back in time and got with that girl. The first Captain America movie. That made me happy. I love Captain America. I think that his movies are the best of the Marvel movies. And I love that he was able to do that and that he made that choice. And he still lived for super long, but that he was able to age and able to live with her. Overall, again, good movie. And these are just like baseline minor gripes. These don't hurt the movie in any way. In fact, I can't imagine the movies in a different way because they did such a good job with the characterizations that they had. But yeah, that's all I got.
Something I've noticed is that there are a lot of people that have said kind of bad things about Endgame. And now we can talk specifically about what? Guys, the time travel.
What about it?
A lot of people hate it.
Why?
I kind of initially was like, okay, I mean, it feels like a cop-out, but even the, like, best Marvel could do was still better than, like, any other movie that did time travel. They did it, I think, in the best way possible.
They did. Sure. They didn't overthink it, too. No. I had a huge problem with time travel. When I went into the movie, the one thing I didn't want to see was time travel, because it undermines all the movies that come before it. But they did it in a way that it didn't undermine it, and it was really fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, yeah, like a lot of people have problems with it because they're thinking about time travel like other movies that have done time travel.
Even though they specifically talked about how it is not the same.
Right.
Referencing Back to the Future and Hot Tub Time Machine and a few others. Terminator, I think, was in there.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Oh, wait, that wasn't one.
But, like, yeah, so people are... They, like, totally missed that line, it seems like, because they're like, oh, okay, we can just go back and undo everything, and it creates all these plot holes, but it doesn't. A specific example is, like, Captain America's ending. He is tasked to take all the Infinity Stones back to the point where they took them, but then he just stays there. He goes back to 1945 and lives his life with Peggy Carter, gets the last dance he's been waiting for, gets the life he deserves, And everyone's like, oh, we just created a huge plot hole. Like, oh, what happened to Captain America then? But here's the thing. Captain America, modern Captain America, when he goes back, he doesn't take the place of old Captain America. He goes and he is still living his life. He is still progressing in his future. It's like, he didn't go backwards. I heard it described that, like, he brought the past to him, kind of. His timeline's still going forward, and it just happens to be in a different place. And, like, so the old Captain America was still there to be dug out of the ice, to fight with the Avengers, to save the world several times, and then he just grows old.
Yeah. I mean, a good thing you can see of not affecting the past in that movie, a good example, is when Nebula shoots herself.
Yeah.
She literally killed her past self, yet she continues to live. Thereby saying what you do in the past does not affect your future.
What it does affect, though, is it creates several alternate realities. The Ancient One mentions to Hulk, like, if you take the stone, like, your timeline will be secured, but mine will now go in this dark path. But, like, so that, like, kind of makes for an interesting premise for the future phases of Marvel. Like, you can have new villains coming out of these darker realities, then crossing over into the main one.
Shoot, that would get complicated.
Oh, it totally would. We could rehash old villains. Maybe that's how the X-Men get introduced, like, by taking this one stone, like, somehow that makes mutants. I don't know. It makes a ton of possibilities rather than just plot holes. And if there is a couple plot holes, it makes more possibilities to make up for it.
What other problems do people have besides time travel?
That was the big one, is like, oh, so many plot holes.
Here's something that kind of bugged me. I didn't terribly mind it, but I wanted to see how Bruce Banner and Hulk got to where they were in that movie.
That's one of the things I have a problem with, too, is because they set up this amazing climax to this character arc between Bruce and Hulk in Infinity War. Like, they're having this inner struggle, and they set that up really well in Infinity War, but then in Endgame it's just, we jump cut, and now it's like, oh yeah, we're cool, we're fine.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't get a good explanation of it either. There was kind of an explanation, but nothing that made sense in my mind.
But you gotta think about, like, just the writing process, and would taking 5-10 minutes to explain Hulk's whole sob story really influence the plot?
You gotta give him something. I mean, Hulk as a character just got thrown under the bus. He didn't do a ton, and I'm talking Hulk, not Banner.
Right.
Hulk didn't do, like, terribly anything. Like, Bruce Banner was not angry enough to be destroying crap as a Hulk, and he really didn't. And the whole thing what about with Natasha? Like, the romance was just dead. Like, he came back. Like, give him something. Come on.
Yeah. A lot of people do have problems with Hulk because it was weird. I have a problem with Fat Thor. It was funny.
So many problems with Fat Thor. I literally cried a little bit when I saw that. He came on screen and I was like, oh, who the freak is that chubby? What? No, he is beautiful.
There are plenty of hot guys for you to gawk at.
Well, I mean, Captain America's, he's adorable, but Thor is just so
manly
and just so rugged.
I mean, it was funny. I didn't mind the change because it was played as a joke at first, but then he kept staying like that. And, like,
what? Explain to me what Thor was supposed to do.
He was supposed to grab Stormbreaker and make him thin.
But I mean, that teaches audiences that diet and exercise don't have to happen. You can just use magic.
Are we concentrating on diet and exercise during a Marvel movie?
No. I feel like for a lot of fans, you should be.
I mean, it's a little thing. It's just
messages.
I don't know. It's a little thing. I liked it fits his character. Like, he was depressed. He messed up pretty much again. Like, he messed up by not killing Thanos, but then he messed up again by killing him too quickly, and then he's just kind of sulking, and I get that. And then when he talks to his mom's just like, you know what, just be yourself. And I get that, but it was just a little weird.
Well, can we talk about how Thanos' head just got lopped off in the
Oh, I
first
know, right?
5 minutes?
That was
I'll even give you 10.
insane.
10 minutes? Like,
Oh, I know.
what the freak, man?
That was crazy.
I don't have the stones.
I lost
Cool.
my mind. What did you do? I went for the head.
That was great.
Yeah, that was
stuff.
good. Favorite parts of the movie?
Favorite part of the movie.
So Captain America just standing there, half a shield. Thanos is like practically killing him.
He was done.
And then here comes his backup, just out of nowhere from that
Oh, yeah.
portal.
That was
just
absolutely my favorite part.
That is
chills
my favorite part as well.
everywhere. Holy
It
crap.
was like, because he had a freaking, Thanos had an army.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Captain America's just lying there with no backup, like, dying.
He's
Yeah.
literally dying, and he stands up, and you're like, okay, way to go, Captain America.
Like, what could he possibly do?
But then Thanos' army comes out. It's like, okay, but now really though, what
Yeah.
can he do?
And then, second army, Doctor Strange and all of his coolness, Black Panther walks out,
Oh,
and Cap drops the line.
Oh, he said it.
He said it.
He said, "Avengers assemble,"
and they did.
and they
They
did.
did.
I
Assembled
actually,
horde.
I really liked that Falcon was like, Cap, on your left, because that's like from Winter Soldier, and it was just awesome. And everybody came out all victorious, and it was just like in the theater was a non-stop
You didn't make me cry.
cheering.
It was beautiful, but it was a thing of beauty.
I also love seeing Quill from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. He's like doing his opening scene. He's like singing, and they can't hear the music obviously, and they're looking at him like, "What the frick is this guy doing?"
So he's an idiot.
And then they freaking knock him out, and he's just done.
And
I
of
love
course he'd be
that.
singing off key. It's like, it's just so funny.
Because he's one of the best characters in that. I really like him.
You know, it was a really good moment. You guys know. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Go ahead.
Cap with Thor's hammer.
Oh my,
yeah.
mind blowing.
That was insane. I knew it.
Jeez, that entire final fight,
Yeah.
that entire third act was that fight. And it was just so many references, so many payoffs, so many like loose ends just brought back to the table, and you're just like, yes.
The uncertainty of the time travel I felt earlier in the movie was all compensated with that battle
Yeah,
scene.
like the first part of the movie was kind of weird, took a minute to get into, but it was all worth it at the end.
Right. Well, I mean, what I liked was first act was very emotional and like, oh crap, what are they gonna do? You know, setting things up. Second act was just a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
And the third act is where all the action is, and you're like, oh! In exactly that frequency.
Also, do you know what I love? Hawkeye finally had a good arc in a movie. He actually was worth something for once. It opens on him and his family, and just you feel for him immediately. And he goes on a rampage, and you're just like, no, please, Hawkeye, stop. And then he like kills himself because he's like, look what I've done. Like, I can't keep going. But then he doesn't. But then like the part when Thanos comes and he's, and then his family, and it just.
And then Natasha, and then
That was another thing people had problems with was
Black Widow died.
Black Widow dying.
well, you have to break a few eggs here. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone can't live, and that was the consequence of getting the Soul Stone in the first Infinity War moment when you see it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they just said, "Oh, you know what? You're fine. Just take
just
it,"
take it.
I would have been a little bit more like, "All right, come on, man."
And
Yeah,
like,
we knew somebody was gonna have to go to it.
Yeah.
yeah, I was not expecting those two to go. And like, people
Out
were
of,
like,
out of all
oh,
the Avengers, who actually loves each other besides those two, though?
you're right. That's true. That does make sense.
Sam and
Bruce
Cap would have been like,
I mean, you're cool. Like,
right.
that's true. Like, people were complaining that Hawkeye needed to die because people just don't like Hawkeye.
I mean, I was kind of in that camp. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate him because
Hawkeye had a
Falcon. I don't like
family.
Falcon.
He had the most reason to live, but he had the most reason to die too because of
Yeah.
all the crap that he's done over the last 5 years. But like, I don't know. You're right. It had to be those two because they were the only ones that loved each other. But
What about Banner and Natalie though?
they
They
don't.
didn't. That was my problem.
But I'm sure he did. Do you see how heartbroken he was when she was gone?
Well, they needed Hulk to snap, so.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. That's how it goes, Doc. That's how it goes.
All right. What are we all predicting? What comes next? Like, what comes after
Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom. Yeah, we want Doctor Doom.
I want the Fantastic Four so bad. I don't want X-Men for a while, but I want Fantastic Four now.
I got nothing. I'll freaking know, man.
All right.
Yeah, well, that's our thoughts. Let us know what you guys thought. Thanks for watching.
Mm-hmm. We're going to go see it again and just enjoy it. Just take it all in. We hope you do as well. Bye.